Peace, everyone. I am just recording this as a final statement before the vote, our voting day tomorrow. Many people have already voted. And in the past couple weeks, the sport team has shifted our energy into holding community and resourcing and resting, preparing ourselves for a pass or fail scenario. And what's felt most important to us through this time recently, after the public discourse has really been stirred up, is to wage peace, is to restore trust where it's been strained, and to build key bridges so that we're best positioned to support community empowerment and community-led change, whether the NMHA passes or fails. So I just want to say that I respect everyone's vote. At this point, all of the information is out there for people to get informed as one needs to be to make an informed decision. There's a lot that is still unsaid. There's a lot that we could address as this public discourse has unfolded. There's various misrepresentations out in the field, and despite that, there's enough information, at least I feel, that for people to make an informed decision. For me, it's clear. In my heart, I know what is right for me and what feels like voting in solidarity, and that's still a no. But I can understand entirely why people feel like the NMHA offers a pathway to healing for so many, and that if it passes, all of the activists and organizations here and medicine workers here can get involved and help get their communities engaged and make sure that how implementation occurs is really solid. And I'm not sure about that, but I do have faith in us. And no matter the result of the vote, the key difference maker is going to be how much we organize to ensure that the resourcing of community stewardship and responsible medicine stewardship is prioritized, and that it's held in the community's trust, that it's community-based. I stand in the informed belief that we would do better to have more time to prioritize outreach and education and resourcing the local organizations based in the place where the law is going to have its impact, to make sure that there's truly equitable representation of the key communities and stakeholder groups whose voices and perspectives deeply matter to the whole. And from that foundation, we'll actually have a shot to create the holistic change that we're all striving for. The right policy will come through the right social conditions, never the other way around. You can outlaw segregation, but you can't outlaw racism. So we have to make sure that the way in which we go about creating the changes that we need in its process is healing in itself. So to create holistic change, we need to do better to build our common ground. And common ground isn't market first, it's community first. And we can create regenerative, abundant economics, but our economics, literally economics meaning home management, will come with reciprocity and synergy built into the core if we recognize that we're creating a home together, that this is our shared home. And as they say, whoever they are, when the family feuds, nobody wins. Steve Harvey, I think, said that. If we are going to create synergy means power with, to create the win-wins of a regenerative future that we can all belong to. For healing to occur, we have to have an intentional power shift. That is what waging peace looks like. Otherwise, we're going to continue the path of war. where people are fighting for power instead of for us to co create regenerative futures that we can all belong to. And after centuries and centuries of extraction of power in a racial, patriarchal, human supremacist caste system, there has to be reconciliation for repairing of the relationships where trust has been broken generationally. And that's literally what reparations is. It's repairing relations. There is a material need for restoration, but there's also a relational need for the relationship to be tended to and cared for, and for these wounds across different groups and different communities and different bodies. We will not be well until we deal with that. We can go on finding different coping mechanisms to be well adjusted, but that's not the same as well. Wellness is something that we co-create as part of a collective soma. So for psychedelic policy reform and drug policy reform to be truly healing, there has to be reparations built in to the process and the policy itself. And this is not beyond the Overton window or too idealistic to ever work. Reparations is being built into cannabis policy around the country. It happened in Virginia. It's happening. Reparations is now something that is being lifted up into the forefront of social change movements as at the foundation for what's needed for us to respond effectively to the times that we have inherited and the crises that we have inherited. We have to be able to work together if we're recognizing the all hands on deck situation that is being alive in the 21st century on Earth. And I am no expert on the course for reparations for the world or for any group of people. But what I do believe and see is that the psychedelic movement has a real opportunity and a responsibility to lead from an ethics and a commitment to participatory reparations. It seems to me that for full reparation to occur in every context, that happens relationally between different communities and different bodies, that people actually have to participate in it, and that we need to center that recognition and restoration in our economics and therefore our policies. So again, I feel strongly that we would do better with more time for a process that was restorative and empowering towards community sovereignty and solidarity as our foundation. Healing and sovereignty are inextricably linked. We have to stand together to support everyone and every community's agency to self-determine their own healing path forward. This can't be a paternalistic operation where medicine is gatekept. We have to ensure that people are resourced and given the capacity and knowledge and education to steward healing themselves, or within community models and practices that are truly embodied with a cultural relevance and stewarded by people who are actually in community and have cultural literacy and a deep understanding of the needs and histories and traumas of the people that they serve to actually be able to support them navigating their healing journey. And we need to create robust systems and medicine infrastructure that empower people with that sort of intimate intelligence with the communities that they serve, if we truly want to create a sacred economics that's rooted in healing and not just creating more powerful coping strategies. No matter what happens tomorrow, we have to work together to ensure that if we're really here for healing. And whether the Natural Medicine Health Act will be an opening that facilitates the creation of the foundation that we need, or if it will be something that stifles us and sets us back and sets up a corrupt foundation, I don't know. That's up to us. We have to address what trends towards corruption and what is needed for us to create a holistic ecosystem that works for all of us together. That's going to be on us. The policy is not going to determine that for us. None of us have a crystal ball. And I see all of the different perspectives here are holding valid parts of the truth. And going into the day before the vote, I just really want to affirm that the dignity of all of us and all of the perspectives that we're holding and the pieces that add up to a whole truth. And we have a lot of work to do going forward to ensure that the many different perspectives and truths that are being held here are dignified, and the tensions here that are natural and important, and the conflicts that are necessary to go into and not bypass are dignified and held in the spirit of community. While there's a lot that could be addressed and should, and, in due time, I hope that there is real naming and acknowledgement of misrepresentations and impacts going forward. And I'm here for that, certainly, to take responsibility and share responsibility. There are two things that I feel like need to be addressed. And the first thing is that it was recently revealed that there's a voter's guide that has been created called the Rocky Mountain Voters Guide that comes across as a guide from some sort of neutral party that was created to inform Coloradans and how to vote. And it has recently been discovered that this guide was largely funded by Natural Medicine Colorado, which is the campaign, the name of the campaign for the Natural Medicine Health Act. The guide includes all these different ballot initiatives on the 2022 ballot in Colorado, including Prop 122, and gives a very favorable review of 122. And it's just propaganda. It's just really unethical that this has been put out in this way. It lists a proponent's contingency that is vast. It's all these different organizations. And then in the list of opponents, it's just a couple prohibitionist organizations and does not at all include the really large contingency of the grassroots psychedelic community and other groups that are opposed. And I'm naming this because these are the kinds of actions that really erode trust, and it needs to be addressed. And so I'm calling on the NMHA campaign and people who are on the steering committee to address this and to make sure that this is acknowledged. Probably won't happen until after the vote, but this needs to be named. These are the kinds of things that we just should not tolerate, and we just need to hold our processes accountable and all make sure that we're going about this work in ways that are ethical and held in the public trust. The second piece is I want to address the claims that, in spores coming out where there's this recklessness because we might actually have a significant influence on the vote, and in us, coming out opposed and naming certain truths, never having a claim on the truth, just addressing real inequities, real problems, real concerns, and real injustices that need to be named for there to be an actual accounting of what is here in relationship to the policy and the process and the 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 power wielders and the power dynamics in place and the relationship between all of those pieces, because this policy, as progressive as it may read, it doesn't exist in a silo. It exists in relationship to this context of the power dynamics at play. There's been concern that, although people might agree that what we're voicing is important, what if it negatively impacts the vote enough to make it so the NMHA doesn't pass and blocks this, potential progress? And to that, I just got to say, how much progress are we making if we have to bypass really crucial truths and voices and marginalized people that absolutely matter and need to be deeply included and heard in these processes to make sure that policy really reflects the needs of the people that it's supposed to be for? None of us have a crystal ball. None of us knows if, you know, the NMHA passing is what's best and what's needed, and that down the road, it'll be much more difficult, or in the other direction, that in a couple years, perhaps, we could have a much more coalesced community in Colorado where these different gaps have actually been bridged and we've found our synergy and we can work together to create something that's really holistic. Um, all I know is whether the NMHA passes or fails, we still have to do that community work, and that's what's most important. And my biggest concern is that if it does pass, that all of the energy and all of the resources just immediately goes into rulemaking and the market, where it needs to go to community to resource and empower truly equitable participation and implementation to ensure that communities are resourced and empowered to create the medicine infrastructure needed for communities to heal within themselves and between each other. So, beyond the ballot, I'm going to vote with my body, and I'm inviting everyone for us to vote with our actions, for us to heal in community. Let's vote for that. Let's vote for community by showing up. So if you're watching this and you're in Colorado and you want to be in community as we receive the results of this vote, come to our voting day party tomorrow at Nurture. The details and the registration link are in our bio. Tickets are donation based. Just come out. Whether you voted yes, whether you voted no, however you feel, come be in community. We can hug each other, we can arm wrestle, whatever we need to do to hold it together. Community is the medicine. We are the medicine. We heal relationally. I am because you are. Our healing is bound up in each other. We are not going to liberate together, thrive together, heal together until we realize that we suffer together. And from there, we can have compassion. Compassion means to suffer with. Suffer means to support. Etymologically, I'm a nerd on this stuff. Suffer literally means to support from underneath or to bear. We have to bear the weight of our common suffering for us to bear the fruit of our healing and our liberation and a vibrant future that we can all belong to. So, amen to that. That's all. That's all I got. Vote with your heart. Much love.